Hello, hello, everybody. It's Sab here in Paris with another show, another mug. This is a mug that, if it had hot stuff in, this would have a magical thing on it. But there isn't hot stuff in because there's cold stuff in because it's hot everywhere except in this mug. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's just, I mean, it's not crazily hot, but there are days where it's really hot, unpleasant, everything's sticky. So this is cold. What's it like where you are? Are you suffering in the heat, or are you on the other side of the world and freezing? So welcome to the show. This is you can have this one if you like, the Creative Smartphone Photography Show. And I'm going to talk about me. No, I'm going to talk about photographs for an hour. Your photographs, my photographs, future photographs, past photographs. And the theme was, if you've been paying attention, the theme was hands. Yes, my friends, the theme was hands, and there were some amazing hand photographs. So I'm not sure what I'm going to say about them, except, and here's another picture of hands. But maybe you can help me by saying hello, telling me which photographs you like best, and why. This is the Creative Photography Group. So I'm looking for creative photographs, not just random snaps of hands. It's okay if you do a random snap. If ever I shout at you, it's done lovingly. But remember, try to do anything except a sort of a snap. You know, throw the camera around, do something strange with the colors, put the subject in a funny position. Anything except a random, straightforward snap, and you're welcome here. No, you're welcome here anyway. So say hello, say hello. So I know that everything's working. And this is what we're going to look at tonight. We're going to look at, not that, we're going to look at operating on limited means here. There we go. Going to look at the group. Let me get the group going. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do hashtag hands and see what happens. Hopefully I get lots of pictures of hands. How did you find this? Did you find this task easy or difficult? Were you inspired? Were you not inspired? Tell me everything. This is our sponsors for tonight, and it might be the same for a few weeks. It's my Paris Masterclass. Check it out if you want to. parissetmefree.com/master. And this is my current thing that I'm promoting. It starts officially next January. It's going to run throughout next year, but you can join now and find out amazing things about Paris and become a Paris connoisseur in my company and other good people's company. Apart from that, I will show you some of my latest photographs. Can you guess the theme? This is my current chapter. There are 5 out of 9 done. Can you guess what the theme is? There it is. Probably not too difficult to guess, but if you don't know Paris, maybe. And what else? I'm going to take. I invited the president to an event yesterday, and the president of France. He came. He forgot to come and say hello to me, which was very rude. But I was there, and that's a dog barking. And I got a couple of photographs, and I'll show you those in due course. All right, so let's start by looking at some of your hand photographs. Just organizing my screen as best I can. So did hashtag hands give me any hands? It gave me a beautiful shot of Angela and a very touching photograph, actually. And don't forget, photographs are supposed to touch us emotionally. What is a photograph? One of my definitions of a photograph is an exchange of emotion between the person who had the idea in the first place and the person who sees the photograph in the last place. It's a means of communication between two people. And Angela is communicating something very touching. A friend of hers who died was an artistic person, as she is, and he had a puppet or a marionette, I'm not sure exactly what the difference is, that looked like him. And this is his puppet, his marionette, with his hand against Angela's face. Beautiful. Yeah, do say hello. I'm not sure if you can hear me yet, so say hello. If you're watching the replay, obviously hello, and say hello. I will see your comments. Right, so let's go through a few of these hand shots. This is mine, and this is my grandma. I called her Nan, and this is my daughter. This was taken a long time ago, and my Nan, which is my name for this grandma, I had another grandma who was called Grandma, and she spanned the century. She literally, I think she was born in 1899. I think she died in 2001. So she literally spanned the century. Hence, a poem that I wrote called Spanning the Century. And this was, so this is like, there's two generations in between these two. This is my mother's mother. So there's my mother, there's me, and then this is my daughter. And I like the way their hands are touching across a photograph. And the photograph, it's a very tiny photograph, look at that. The photograph they're looking at is, I think it's of my Nan when she was Angie's age. So, you know, lovely, lovely memory there, and meaningful. This is 𝗤𝗧𝗏's daughter with, look at that tiny little hand on the hand of her grandfather. Her daughter's hand on her daughter's grandfather's hand. And again, very, very touching. Her dad wasn't around for much longer. It may be the last photograph of the two of them. So another precious memory. Let's not, I'll see if I can blow that up a little bit. Yeah, again, these are old photographs, aren't they? So they're not as big as the ones we take today. Actually, the photograph was a bigger one, and she wanted to focus on the hands. And that's an important point, I think, because if you're taking a photograph of a part of a person, as soon as you have their face in there or their eyes, you kind of forget. You look straight to the face. It's what we're made to do as humans. So she decided to get rid of the human sort of faces and heads and just focus on the hands, which I think is good. This is me. Got to get away from these ones of me. What? And so that's my son. I was taking photographs of this. This is the theme. No, this is my theme for the week. You can see that the photograph is there. We visited the Eiffel. Oh God, what? The Arc de Triomphe, and it was wrapped by Christo and Jean-Claude, his partner or wife, I'm not sure. And this was their last project. They died before this project, but luckily the foundation that they founded continued the project through to completion, even though they both died before it. Christo was working on it until the end, wrapping the Arc de Triomphe. Can you remember? Can you imagine how crazy that is? And I meant to publish a series of these. I didn't get around to it, and now I'm doing it. And you can see 5 of them so far. And I put my head on the thing that was wrapping. It's recycled polypropylene or something, some sort of plastic. And put my head there, and my son, for some reason, decided to put his hand on my head. So, you know, forgive the pun. It's a touching moment, but it really is, you know, very sweet of him doing that. It touched me a lot. So that's what this is. And did I blow that up? Yeah, so there it is. Played around with the colors. My son had a blue thing on, which is the same color as that shows through the silver of this wrapping. And I had a kind of reddish thing on, which is the same as sort of as the cord. So it wasn't planned, but it's pleasant. It's pleasant when you get these coincidences, and they'll happen. The more photographs you take, guess what? The more often there will be pleasing coincidences. The more photographs you take, the more one of them will be good. Even though you're trying to make them all good. Professional tip, it doesn't sound very professional, does it? You think professional, would take one shot and it would be amazing. Well, I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. Maybe people who have done photography a lot, more of their photographs are good than, striking than the average person. But a really good professional tip is just take a lot of photographs, and there's more chance that one of them will be really good. All right, so here we go. Someone's saying hello. Hello, Dorothy, and hello, Jean. Nice to have you here. Dorothy says, Dorothy listening from France. I know France. Are you sweltering in the south? Just talked to someone from the south who says it's really hot. So maybe you can corroborate that. Just put the cooperating just to sleep the temperature. Don't let the heat from outside get in, but it's 25 degrees inside. Yeah, it's not so easy, is it? I can hear you, says Dorothy. Great, thanks, Dorothy. And hi, everyone. Don't know why lag of me being able to log on. Yeah, well, you're here now. That's the main thing. So thanks for watching. Very nice to have you here with me. And talking of Jean, do I still get the comment if I blow it up? Yes. After petting Maddie at a local park, I asked permission from the mothers to photograph their children's hands. They said yes. Nothing as precious as hands of children. Look at the colour of that fingernail. Good grief. And look at the colour of the other one's hands. Yeah, that's right. Kids' hands. Precious. Well, good for you, Jean. You're the weird lady who wants to take pictures of other people's children. Careful, you might get a reputation. That's lovely. And I'm sure, kids, they absolutely love anything really. So having their hands taken as a photograph is probably really cool. Very sweet. And you've really focused on the hands. It's beautifully framed. You've got the cuff. You've got the other cuff, which hasn't been cut off. I've got this thing about bits of human bodies being cut off. Even if the wrist was slightly going out of the picture, I'd probably be thinking, so the cuff frames the hand, and the frame of the photograph frames the cuff, if you see where I'm coming from. And the hands are beautifully within the frame. Lovely. Little things but big things, just depending on how fussy you want to be. And you don't have to tell people that you're sort of really fussy about framing and things. People will just think it's a really great photograph, and they won't necessarily know why. And it's because the person has made the extra effort. Beautifully framed, absolutely beautifully framed, filling the frame. You've got the different colors of the cuffs, which is kids, isn't it? And yet there are the little hands, slightly different tones of flesh. You don't know sort of what ethnicity they are, and it doesn't matter. They're kids. They have to learn about differences like that later on, don't they? All unified by their scruffy fingers. Anyway, I could waffle on about that for ages. So Jean says they were drawing with chalk, and Dorothy says cooperating equals cooler. You got auto-corrected, Dorothy, from cooling to cooperating. You put the cooling on, right? Yeah, I mean, I've been having problems sleeping at night, horribly sticky nights and stuff. All right, is that as it should be in the frame? Yes. So let's carry on. You've got an advantage because you've got an accomplice, Jean. You've got Maddie, who can sort of get you closer to people who might otherwise be suspicious of the weird old woman. Not old, I mean, not. I mean, you know what I mean. This is either brilliant or highly disturbing. I'm not quite sure which. Just an amazing series of photographs. I think really, okay, you've done your thing. You've done your mirror effect, which is great. Some of them, though, this one in the top right was the one that I found, even though some of them look, kind of, I don't know what to say. What can I say? They're just Dorothyized. The one in the top right is probably the weird. Although this one in the center, where you've got these kind of the bits of the little fingers that are left, have turned into this kind of little heart thing. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to say about these. The one in the top right looks like a kind of a croissant Michelin person and is really quite something, with this double thumb at the bottom to stand on. There's one here that you haven't done the, I've just noticed you haven't done the mirror effect with, I think. The one in the top left. Just, yeah, for contrast. Extraordinary. What an amazing thing. You'll probably never do that again. And there it is. You've created something absolutely unique, Dorothy. Well done. Looks, I had a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Jean, a slightly more relaxing photograph to look at. This makes me remember what happens when you do the fancy effects with hands. Often a normal person's hands can end up looking like they're about 98 years old. Nothing wrong with being 98 years old, but sometimes we don't want our hands to look like they've been dragged out of the tomb. By the way, I saw a news story today, which was the story of a woman who died, but it's not quite as simple as that. The headline was something like, "Woman who was buried, who was found to be alive, died." So this poor woman was put in a coffin. People thought she was dead. They were at the funeral and they heard a knock. It's like from a horror film, you know, a crazy film. There was a knocking from somewhere. It was coming from inside the coffin. Oops, she wasn't actually dead. They took her out, but unfortunately she'd been in there for a week or something, people not knowing. Sorry if this is going to give you nightmares. So she died anyway, but she kind of died twice. Really absolutely extraordinary story. Anyway, you couldn't make it up. So this isn't like that. This is a beautiful picture of lovely hands with a beautiful photograph. It's a good example of trying to make a story. You could take a picture of a hand, but you think, okay, picture of a hand. You could take a picture of a flower, and I'm afraid most pictures of flowers, they can be very beautiful, lovely lighting, delicate, the wonder of nature, but also extremely boring. So a hand touching a flower at least tries to tell a story. At least it's somebody appreciating a flower. You can contrast the softness of somebody's hand and skin with the delicateness of a flower. Also nice. It's nice that it goes into fuzziness in the background, which is lovely. You filled the frame with it as well, which is great. No need to have anything else. It's a hand holding a flower. Lovely, beautiful, intricate petals as well. In terms of depth of focus, sometimes if you get very close to a flower, and it's a flower which is quite a deep flower, in other words, it's got quite a lot of volume, sometimes you have to be careful with exactly what is in focus. Sometimes some of the nearer petals will be in focus and the ones behind won't, or you focus on the wrong thing and the thing that's nearest is not in focus, and there's some leaf in the background that, that the camera caught, which is in focus. But this is just wonderful, wonderful. Okay, how are we doing? Got a strange comment from here from Jean, but with two T's, which means backside, not like, but why? So so yeah, Jean had the same feeling as probably, I suspect, a few of us with Dorothy's extraordinary set of photographs there. All right, holding some lavender branches. There we are. Okay, Dorothy, similar idea to Jean. The flowers kind of go off the top of the picture there. So I don't see so much the flowers. I see the stems, and if it is supposed to be the flowers and the hand, there's a kind of no man's land, or even no hands land in between. So I would possibly have held the flowers higher up the stem, if depends what you want to do. I don't know what you wanted to do. Not easy to hold something in one hand and take photos. Right, absolutely, I know what you mean. We had a similar problem when we were trying to take pictures of our hands, and hold a camera as well. Yeah, so possibly, I don't know what you're trying to do. I feel there's a kind of nothing happening in the middle here. There's quite a lot of stuff with a lot of green, and then there are the flowers at the top out of focus. I would be inclined to go really close, hold the flowers, hold the stems right where the flowers are, or even hold the flowers in your hand, possibly. I like the fact you've got your old logo back, Dorothy. Like that. This is Jean. Completely different thing now. Very nice. Black and white. Piano keys, black and white. Photograph, black and white. Fair enough. And she gave us a choice. The reflections is great. You know, it's a great photographic tool. Is a reflections, and a piano is wonderful for that. But it doesn't end there. You've got a choice. What do? Do you show all four hands? Do you even only show the reflected hands? That could be strange. Or do you show how much of each hands do you show? Anyway, I don't. There's no. It's not an exact science. I love what you've done. She gave us a choice between the last one and this one. This one is kind of good because it's like making the reflection more important than the actual real hands, which is, you know, it's strange. It's like if you take a picture of something reflected in a puddle or in a lake, and the reflection in the lake of the trees and the clouds is more impressive than the real clouds and trees. Sometimes that happens, especially because of the angle. Sometimes when you're shooting down into water to get the reflection, the image in the water is more impressive than the real thing. If you want to be really funny, you can take the picture, turn it upside down, and ask people what they think without telling them that actually the reflection is on top. Because the reflection is often more impressive than the actual thing, because of the angle, takes up more of the photograph, people might not realize. Anyway, so that's great. Lovely. I like both of those. I might go, I don't know which one I'd go for. Don't know. This one fills the screen a bit more fills the frame with the hands, but then you've lost a bit of the hands. So that's a personal thing to go for. This is me. What am I doing there? Yeah, I thought sometimes I don't have time to take photographs on the themes that we've chosen. By the way, next theme is going to be imposed upon you. This one was a choice, but one of the ones that almost made it was one that I wanted, and it didn't make it. So I'm going to impose that upon the group this time. Do you know what it is? Guess what next theme is going to be, starting now. So this is me doing something pretty classic, but, you know, taking a picture of something through the hands. But it's not quite as easy as that. What shape do you make with the hands? How do you get the things behind the hands or through the hands in focus and not the hands in focus? Is the thing through the hand worth looking at in the first place? So there's quite a few, and don't chop bits of the hand off, you know, by the frame. So there's quite a few things to think about here. It's not as easy as you think. You can't just hold your hand up, take a shot and think it's artistic. Well, you can, but you know, the perfectionist in me isn't satisfied with that. I want more. I want the thing that is in the hole to be perfectly framed by my hand. Not the little mug here, not touching my hand. The edge of the screen, the corner there, not touching my hand. And it took several attempts. And how do you get it in focus? Because the camera is going to focus on the hand. Well, on a smartphone, you tap the screen of the smartphone on the screen of the computer, for example, and it should snap into focus. But sometimes it snaps back. You know, kind of tricky. And okay, because I had my hand like this, it wasn't, basically there was a bit of space around it. So I tried to make sure that the things you could see in the top left there were also quite interesting. It is what it is in the end. But, you know, I've got my big mug, I've got my mouse and the computer with a Paris photograph on there. That's my screensaver. A building that looks like it's sinking. Then you've got my coloured pens. I've got stuff on the shelves there. You know, it might seem like it's random, but in fact, I tried my best to make this interesting as well. And I recommend you do the same. Oh, I should have blown that up. all that time I was talking about it. Any other naughty words from Jean? Oh no. Your hand used as a frame looked like a tricky shot. Well, I've just explained to you how I tried to do it, so I recommend you try that as well, based on everything I've just said, and see what happens. Okay, so let's carry on here. This was the one that introduced the theme, and it's my son. And repetition is a good theme in photographs, as many of you know. There's a repetition of the red stripe there and the red thing here. This is a classic thing. Generations of French people traveling on the train know this. It's a little bunny getting its fingers trapped in the doors, and it's saying, don't put your hands on the doors, they might get nipped really hard. And my son put his hand on the door. I wasn't going to ask him to get them trapped in the door, just for the photograph. I'm not that kind of dad. So, it's sweet. It's my son's hands, a little bit sort of ragged nails and stuff, which is, it's what you want, humanity. And he's a little bit bigger than that now. Still loves trains, thankfully. The day he doesn't love trains and doesn't want to drag me around Paris will actually be quite a sad day. But we're not there yet. Maybe it'll never happen. Jean getting fancy. Sometimes I wonder how you manage to get the selective color so perfect, Jean. Either you use one of these things where with your finger, you go around it, but you blow it up so big that you can literally almost do it to the pixel, or you've got some other clever app. Which is it? Come on. I was too embarrassed to ask you because I'm supposed to know this, but I have to ask you. Did you just take a long time blowing it up really big on one of those apps where you can choose the color, turn it black and white, and then put your finger around, bringing the color back? Is that how you did it? It's amazing. It's really, especially, I've done this, I've been tempted to do this before. If you go to graveyards and you get something like this, it's perfect, because normally the statues are gray and dark gray, shades of gray, white, black and stuff. So isn't it perfect to have a bright red flower? It's not my ancient looking hand. A shot of an old woman's hand. From one of my favorite statues. I added the flower for color interest. Did you put the flower there? That's an interesting point. Doesn't matter if you did or didn't, but you're allowed to. In photography, well, she said it all. Jean said it all. She put the flower there for interest. I've done this before. A lovely, expressive, open hand of a statue. Well, I'm not sure if I saw a leaf in the open hand by chance, or if I put it there. It's too long ago now. But the photo I think it's the colored leaf. I'm not sure if I needed to do an effect where I chose the color and made the rest black and white or not, because normally these statues are more or less black and white, with a lovely browny orangey gold autumn leaf which had fallen into the open hand of a statue sort of lying on a tombstone. And how symbolic is that? An old autumn leaf lying on a tombstone in the hand of a statue. Anyway, you get the idea. Look for this sort of thing. Look for this symbolism, which is everywhere. If you can't find it, if you have the idea, wouldn't it be nice to have an old fallen autumn leaf in that open hand? Look around and put one in. Go the extra mile. It doesn't matter if you've set the shot up. How many people set shots up? Most people set shots up, professionals. So you can too. It's the same as really walking around to get the best angle. You're setting up the shot to tell the story that you want to tell as you attempt to transmit the emotions you are feeling to the person who is eventually going to look at your photograph. Do what you need to do for that to take place, for that exchange of emotion to take place. Otherwise, what's the point? Lovely. Haut les mains, peau de lapin. Haut les yeux, pauvres cieux. How's my French? So this is 𝗚𝗏 with a pretty funky shot. I'm just going to get a couple of comments before So Jean, did you not do any special effect at all? That's literally the shot. Because I thought you chose the color of the flower. So the statue was white and the flower was red, and that's it. That's the shot. There you go. What an idiot. I've been going on about that for ages, thinking you'd done that selective color, and it was just the actual thing. That's the actual color of the flower, she says. And she also says, I think I enhanced the colors a bit, but that was it. Go for it. Yeah, I think nature can definitely be enhanced sometimes, yeah. Remember my motto. I'll bore you with it one more time. And you choose a motto for you. You know, don't take mine. Mine's mine. You choose yours. Mine is something like, I'm aiming to produce images which are somewhere between grim reality and a kind of fantasy dreamland. That's my little thing. What's yours? If you just take a shot of what you see in front of you, for me, that's not really art. I mean, it can be, but part of the fun is playing around with the images as well. So, so there you go. Good for you, Jean. You continue to be my star pupil. So back to 𝗏𝗏. What an amazing effect. You got some sort of orangey blue thing going on. I don't know what she's done here. Looks like it's a bit solarized or something. Maybe she's played with some of those levels, curves or something like that. Try playing around. If you're using an app where you can play with the curves and you don't normally do that, go into the curves section and pull some of those lines up and down. You can even split out the color. You've got one curved line for all of them, but sometimes you can split out and just pull the red curve around, just pull the blue around, and you get some weird stuff. So here's a weird photo. No, 𝗏𝗏's not weird. She's 𝗏𝗏, and this is a photograph which is pretty great. I love it. I love it. It's a classic thing, you know, the eyes looking through the fingers. Which it was an old gesture that people used to do, filmmakers, to see what it would look like as a shot on the screen, and it still works. Still works. She's lovely framing. All of her fingers are within the frame. Love the blue. It's like a mystical, surreal blue in this effect, and it's echoed in her eyes. By the way, yeah, this little rhyme here. It translates as something like put hands up in the air, rabbit skin, eyes up, poor sky. I think it's a nonsense rhyme, which rhymes, but it doesn't matter what is rhyming. And I thought it was, in English we say skin a rabbit. Well, my mum used to say skin a rabbit when she took my shirt off, you know, before going to bed, or my pajama top off, skin a rabbit. And I thought it was perfectly innocent and cute. But if you think about it, it's kind of, you know, skin a rabbit. That's how you would take the skin off a rabbit, literally, before you cook the rabbit. So I thought this might be that, but 𝗏𝗏 said she didn't know. I think she invented the second two lines. So she's a bit of a poet as well. There you go, you see. A poet and didn't know it. Why don't you, Jean says, I love Beatrice Parent. Very, very formal. I think you can call her Madame Parent, 𝗏𝗏. Photo with her hands around her eyes. There you go. You've got a fan 𝗏𝗏. And what am I doing? How are we doing for time? Okay, faster. Did I want to say something else about that? Don't know. Yeah, I wanted to say, you know, I've got this creative community. I haven't really developed the words side yet, getting people to do words. It's a bit more difficult than images, but I love it when people mix stuff up. You know, they put words on photos, or they sketch something to go with something they've written. I think that's wonderful. So, you know, if you feel like drawing, Dorothy, for example, she sometimes writes a poetic piece of text to go with an image. I think that's wonderful. Go for it, people. Let other sides of your creativity out as well. Angela is an actress. She acts. So there's something. It's, you look at her images and you can see that she has a sort of an artistic side to her. That's clear. And so she's sort of bathed in words, but putting bodies to words, if you like. So I'm not surprised that she often produces images which are very poetic images. This is lovely. The treatment, you know what this makes me think of? It makes me think of one of those pictures by Escher. Do you know Escher? The guy who he sort of drew like a hand, very clever, three-dimensional special effects drawings. And there was one, it's like there's a hand and it's drawing another hand, the wrist of a hand. And then the wrist, you follow the wrist and it becomes what looks like a real hand drawing the wrist of another hand. And that hand is drawing the wrist of the first hand. They round in a circle. Or, you know, the never-ending staircase that goes up, 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 up. This is a bit, that reminds me of that. It's almost as though the hand is coming out of the paper. If someone told me this was a drawing, I'd be impressed, but not surprised. But in fact, I'm going to read this now. She's going to say, this is a drawing I did. After lunch, oh yeah, there we go. Just a glass of water in my hand. I like the light which comes from one side and the hand is half lighter and half darker. The shadow made the photo more interesting. Yeah, and you've done something to it to sort of move it slightly towards a drawing, some sort of effect. It's almost both flattened the image, but also it's got very strong side lighting. I like this effect very much. And it almost sounds like you've done my photography masterclass, because lighting is so important. And one of the curses of photography. Oh, Kristen's just joined. Kristen, hello, Kristen, joining the live. Thank you, Kristen. Nice to have you here. If you've done photographs and if you tag them #hands, I hope I'll get to them. What did I want to say? I wanted to say that one of the curses of people trying to be artistic but not really knowing what they're doing is the lighting. The lighting is horribly boring and flat. And that's because normally in broad daylight, lighting is flat, you know, and it's another curse is lighting that is too harsh, like in sunlight with horrible harsh shadows of the nose on the cheek and stuff. But most photographs would be improved and made more artistic if they had strong lighting coming from the side, either direct but maybe also softened. And this is a fantastic example of why I'm saying that. Look at that lovely lighting coming from the side, coming from the left. Enough said. Angela, again, I decided to do another sort of mini challenge within a challenge to try and get more people to participate. And I said, okay, you've got 30 seconds, take a picture of your hand doing something and publish it. And there you go. Angela took me up on it. She has beautiful eyes, by the way. And one of them is this, and the other one is this. I don't know what to say, you know. Just great. Well done for going for it. I love the treatment. I love the you've chosen this orangey yellow sepia type effect. You know, sepia is classic, but sepia can be a bit drab. But you know, choose any tone. For humans, normally an orangey tone is more nicer than a bluey or a green or a purple tone. But go for a warm orangey yellow, exaggerate it, and you know, you've got an instant work of art if you're lucky. Love those. So Kristen, I'll get confused between Kirsten and Kristen. Kristen, how are you doing? Did you take any pictures? I can't remember. You're gonna have to remind me. Jean says, I find the hand and glass by Angela very artistic. And let's have another one. My husband's hands while he works. Look at that. She's got a husband who is whose job is looks like repairing or making jewelry, or watchmaker maybe. And this is a great thing. One of my, I was going to say, I promised to give you tips, and I always forget. And today's thing was how to make pictures of hands look more interesting. Well, one, of course, is to have them doing something. And this is a good example of that. he's a watchmaker or a jewelry maker, and he is repairing jewelry. He knows what he's doing. He's got all the tools. He's the man. And hands are made to do things, aren't they? That's why we've got hands. That's why we've got these things dangling from our palms, is because they help us do things. So it could be as simple as holding a glass, reaching for a glass, touching a baby's cheek, or doing some real work. And it makes the photograph much more interesting. It almost gives you a reason for taking the photograph if you feel that just a hand is not enough. Oh, there were two. This is another one, and she's focused on the edge of his glasses. Maybe because it was in the middle of the shot, maybe she decided to do that. Maybe she wanted this effect. Maybe because the edge of his glasses is sharp, it makes us feel that we are where his eyes are, and we are looking at what he's looking at. Kristen says, doing great, took several this week. Okay, well, let's try and get to them. Did you do #hands? Otherwise, I won't get to them. Bea, playing around with her hands around her eyes. You can do this. I'm not going to dwell on that. Angela, again, hands. I thought to capture the hands of my fellow actors during rehearsal. Yeah. Isn't it good when hands are doing things? You don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something, which makes it all the more intriguing. And actors, of course, could be doing anything. You have no idea what actors are doing. And you get some very interesting shots. Black and white. Interesting jacket here. Yeah, you can almost make hands part of an abstract work without any idea of what's going on. This was me this is an old hand photograph, because I tried to find a photograph for the theme, to promote the theme. And this was the one out of over 1,000 in my current series, 2,000 actually, where the hand was the most prominent. So there's something about hands. You can do so many things with them. They have so much potential, not only for work, but for functional things like eating, but also for showing that you love people, for caressing. And when you have a hand doing nothing, it's almost full of potential for hard work, but also for hard love, if you like. And there's something beautiful about just a hand at rest. It's sort of, there's latent expressiveness in a hand, which is why it's nice to have the fingers curved, but not really doing anything. Blow that up for posterity. There it is. Sab will, for what he's worth. And Kristen, yes, of course, Kristen, the random guy. You said you didn't know him. Maybe you knew him afterwards. Did he mind you taking shots? Did you ask? Did you just take shots because everyone was? Because I'm a bit self-conscious. I don't like people, but that's my thing. I don't take pictures of people who know that I'm taking pictures. That's kind of my thing. And I feel more comfortable like that. And I quite like sneaking around as well. But lots of other people, they want the person to know. They take portraits. They want the person to know, and they'll give them a copy afterwards. So interested to know what your take on that is. So good for you, taking the shots. You've got one color version and one black and white. He looks like a bit of a dude. Got his banjo, and got his he's got a snake on the arm and some sort of a moth. It looks like a moth on the back of his hand with rings. Cool dude. And then you've got another shot of him on the guitar hands. There you go. And you've got 4. Is it the same shot? No, one of them is the same, and then 3 of them are the same, and one is different. And you've played around with the colors. Great, yeah, it's quite good to go for the Andy Warhol thing. Take an image, play around with the colors, and put them together. Can be very, very effective indeed. I love the row of 4 guitars, and I love this Facebook layout where you've got the long, thin shots. What sort of music was it? Did you like the music? Was it a pleasure to listen to? Do you often go to see live music, Kristen? Okay, this is an experiment that, hang on, let me make this. We did this afternoon. Bear's idea. I took the shots. She did the post-processing and putting it in the grid, and I supplied one of the hands. So I'm seeing this properly for the first time, and I think it's fantastic. I'm not at all biased. I think it's amazing. And so she's used sort of, I don't know what she's used, but for a start, if you want to do something like this and make it as effective as possible. I'm not an expert on anything. Look at something. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I happen to think this is great. And some of the things that make it great, whatever the topic is, they're all the same format. They're all square. They're all exactly the same lighting. They've all got the same special effect, which seems to be a kind of yellowy orange in the middle with a sort of, they all seem to have a bit of a dark vignette on it. The background, they're all more or less all grey blue. And the subject is the same subject, but different poses. This could be a face. This could be one person. It could be a baby's face in 9 different poses, or 3, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and then it's up to you. But this is possibly the simplest, stunning layout you can do, a grid of 3x3, which is maybe why I chose it as my kind of signature thing, 3x3 grids. Because it's so impressive. This could be an Andy Warhol thing where it's all exactly the same subject, but with different colors in each one. But with something like hands, or a baby's face, or your partner or you, it doesn't matter. Why not do? It's like in those photo booth things. Nothing changes except the expression, and then you've got a kind of a really impressive piece. I call this a meta composition, because you've got the composition within the frame. Each one of these individual photographs has a composition. But what about if you try to compose a composition which is made of several photographs? Then you have to go a step further. As you're taking all of the photographs beforehand, you've got to have said to yourself, what will these look like together? I've just seen this now, so I don't know, did she choose to have certain ones in certain positions? Did she decide to have the top left photograph in the top left because, I don't know, there's a curve of the hand which goes nicely in the corner? What about this bottom right one? Did she choose that one because this hand comes in dynamically from the bottom right corner? I don't know. Maybe this one in the middle, it kind of has a circular feel to it. Maybe she felt that would be nice as the middle photograph. So I honestly don't know, and it doesn't matter. But these are things you can think about. Which photograph in a group of 9 would be a really good centerpiece? Which would be really good in the top left? Yeah, etc., etc. So fantastic exercise. I'm really love the way it turned out, and it's a great thing to do with somebody else. It's a bit of a solitary thing, photography. So what about saying to someone I was going to say someone you're close to. Of course you can, but you could do it with a stranger. It's not, what about that? A stranger's hand in your hand. You might never see them again, or it might bring you closer, or they might think you're a real weirdo. I don't know. It doesn't matter, does it? Okay. What are we doing here? We've got, so this is probably Kristen. I just took shots and then told him after. He's on stage, so probably used to people snapping. I go to see a lot of live music, but usually I know the players. They appreciate me taking pics for them. This guy was in the warm-up band, and yes, I like the music. The warm-up band. Yeah, it must be nice, a warm-up band getting some attention. You feel a bit sorry for the warm-up band or the supporting act. You sometimes think like they only came to see the main act. So that's really nice, isn't it? Okay, I think we're pretty much at the end there. Kristen, did I get all of your shots? By the way, there is a theme, and it's going to be abstract. Dorothy, there you go, Dorothy. I love it. Your entire hand is the backdrop to this very interesting and complicated. Is it raspberries coming up there? Blackberries, blueberries, blackberries probably. There's a theme, and it's going to be abstract. It didn't win last time, so I'm imposing it. Abstract. Now, abstract, what is it? Well, abstract maybe I should bring this out here for a second. Abstract, you're supposed to not really know what it is. Yeah, it can come from a real thing, but you've dehumanized it. For example, if it's a hand, just imagine I'm making this up as I go. Actually, this might, take a bit of a hand. Okay, this is obviously hand, but what about if I did this? Something like that. Would you know what it was? It could be a pair of legs, and it could be a pair of fingers, or maybe it could be like it could be could be like an elbow or other bits of the body with cracks in. You don't know. So the thing with abstract is doesn't really look like anything. It could be paint, for example. Paint is one of my favorites. Peeling paint. Okay, you might guess it's peeling paint. But what about if you got a bunch of reddish peeling paint next to some blue peeling paint? Or a bit of look at the walls as you're going around town. Look for electricity tubes, cables, things which you can turn into abstract compositions. Think of things like Miro. Think of people like Kandinsky. I'm trying to think of people who just play with, even Mondrian. Who was that guy that just did yellow, blue, and red with bits of white? These people. If you look at their pictures, they're just dashes of color, but they're somehow pleasing, unless you hate them, of course. Very often I'm in the metro and I see abstract designs. I zoom in close enough that you can't see that, it's a bit of a door, it's a bit of a sign. You can just see shapes, colorful shapes together. Try to make something interesting with those shapes. And I've got an absolutely perfect example in my head, which I will probably publish, of exactly what I just told you. You've got a few more hands, says Kristen. I'll try and get to them. And Jean says, oh my God, asking a stranger for their hand. I had enough trouble asking the mothers to photograph their children's hand. What about if you grab a kid, preferably one and say, hey, let's see how many funny shapes we can make with our hands. Watch the background, and as soon as you've got something noticeable or recognizable in the background, people will stop focusing on the foreground. So just remember that. What about a big hand with a little hand, like a little member of your family, in about 9 different shots? If you do this, and you're not the mother, and you show this to the mother, or you take the mother's hand or the father's hand with the little kid's hand in 9 or a series of different positions that show the love and the bond between those two people, you will feel a lot of love coming from the people that you've just, especially the parent. You can't, if you produce anything pleasantly emotional to do with anybody's kid anywhere, I think they will think you're a wonderful person, whether you are or not, which most people are, obviously, but I know. Okay, nice one, Dorothy. Thanks for that. Background's nice and fuzzy. It's so detailed. There's a lot of detail here, but to be honest, it's glorious. The absolute beauty, the sharpness of it, the sharpness of those little stamens and the flowers, and the roundness of those little bobble things. Great, I love it. All right, Rob. Oh my God, we almost missed Rob. When it's time to relax, one of Rob's favorite things is having a cigar and a glass of whiskey, I believe, and I think he might be sitting on his rock there on his chair, having crossed his bridge, if I'm not mistaken. I'll blow that up for posterity. Nice one, Rob. Great place you've got there just to go and chill out. Kristen again, here we go. Look at this. So I think you praised your son to the high heavens on more than one occasion here, and as you should, Kristen, as you should. That's lovely. The artists, the musical artists' hands at work, in inverted commas. And the face. Lust in music. I tried to learn about 3 or 4 different instruments, maybe 5 in my time. Bought them all, got the books, got the gear, no idea. And for some reason, I couldn't play anything remotely worth listening to after about a day and a half and gave up. Really annoying. I think there was something wrong with the instruments. Don't know why there was so many problems producing anything that sounded nice. I've got a drum now. You bong it and it sounds nice. That's beautiful. It's just beautiful. I've already talked about hands on pianos. It's great. Play around with angles. Play around with color. You could go black and white. You could go sepia. You could go way down, looking along the keys. All sorts of things you can do with that. Did he like these photographs? Did he say, "Nice one, Mum," or did he say, "Mum, get out of here. Give me a break"? Hand shadows. There you go. With a Mother's Day present. Why don't I get Mother's Day presents? Never got one. Nobody loves me. This, I said to Teresa, the word that came to my mind is pudgy, which is a cute word for a baby's hand which has got lots of baby fat on. You know, they're often quite chubby, and pudgy is a word from my childhood. I don't know if it's anything but a word a Scottish mother would use, but apparently I was a pudgy little baby. Sort of cutely squeezable sort of thing. Kristen, my son Jason. Okay, you've got the imprint of his hands more than 12 years ago. You know, create memories, folks. Create them in any way you can, and you'll be pleased you did. And photography is one of the best ways of doing that. Capture those moments. Don't be, you know, like heavy about it. Like, I'll get that camera out of my face. Not again. Make sure you live the moment first, and grab a shot. And it's amazing how quickly that shot will become yesterday. So yeah. Like it. Did I blow that up for posterity? Okay, we're getting to the end now, and I haven't even shown you my latest photographs. Oh dear. Is it going to blow up for me? Yeah, there you go. This is something families often do, isn't it? And then the same kids in a row. Dorothy getting into something she's really into at the moment, 5-minute challenge. I love it when hands are doing things, especially when it's something important to the person. She's into this thing called gene keys. I don't know what that's about, but it's quite a few people are into that. She says, "I'm understanding more and more." Do you? No, I haven't looked into it, and it looks fascinating. And I love that when you get a little, you know, sneaky peek into other people's lives. It's very fun. And Sharon, look at this. Don't often hear from you, Sharon. So nice to have you. You probably didn't hang around till the end of the video, but I hope you do. And this is beautiful. It's a sketch done by her daughter when she was 15, and now she's 28, printed on an ink printer. That's an amazing sketch. Very impressive. Beautiful, beautiful. Kristen again. Kristen, well done, Kristen. You've been going like crazy on this theme. That really worked out well, didn't it? The hands theme. I was a bit disappointed that it wasn't abstract, and then hands, of course, you know. So good. So many. How many people have you got here? Mind Valley reunion 2019 with my beloved fellow ambassadors from Speak and Inspire. Yeah, that's what I did. Maybe that's where I know you from, Kristen. We just received the Love Award. The Love Award. Okay, we're getting towards the end. And the hand pictures keep on coming. Now, the thing with abstract, the theme which I've suggested for this coming week is, how do you make it human if it's abstract? That could be tricky. How can you inject some sort of humanity into, that's it, that's the end, into a topic which is, have I been showing you me big all this time? Oh, you've got to tell me. Get it. Oh, sorry, all of those weren't good. All right. So, how can you make abstract a bit human? Maybe you don't want to. Maybe it's going to be a kind of, you know, harsh reality. This is man's impact on the environment. But then again, it could be nature going abstract. You know, you could turn a flower into an abstract design of circles, maybe. So up to you to work with that. I will very quickly show you the pictures of my theme this week, my Paris Photo Chronicles, which are the Eiffel, I keep saying that, the Arc de Triomphe, the Arc of Triumph wrapped. And I've got these ones so far. It's going to be a grid of 9. This one is, normally I'd say you need a subject, and you might say there's no subject here, or there's just one big subject, but you know, it's impressive. It's like a huge cathedral of wrapped Arc de Triomphe, Arc de Triomphe. That's me with my sun. This in the middle, as 𝗏 maybe chose the hands in a circle in the middle, I chose a very solid square composition to go in the middle of the group of 9 as a kind of a solidifying, grounding center. Often if you've got a hole of some sort, goes well in the center. So there's a kind of a hole here as well. That can go well in the center of a composition. There's my boy holding a piece of this wrapping. We have a piece for posterity. That he's holding is a bit of this. I mean, it's the same material. He didn't cut a hole in it while it was still up there. And a kind of funky treatment to that. My boy. And then this is another one, including a flame. And I've just posted this. If you want to read a whole load of blah blah about the flame on the tomb of the unknown soldier, go to my page, my profile, and read it. I like the way you can actually see the flame. It's actually sitting there, a bit like a sort of a nuclear mushroom explosion. And that's the foot of the Eiffel, that thing. That's it. That is it. Remember the sponsors, which are this, my masterclass. Go to parissetmefree.com/master if you want to learn all about my upcoming masterclass for next year, all about Paris. Become a Paris guru if you want to. Can you see that? Oh, I didn't even blow those ones up. All of my photographs were small. One day I'll learn. And I think that's about it. The theme for next time will be abstract. And I'll put a couple of examples just to give you ideas. And then it's up to you. What are you going to do with this very intriguing theme? This is really going to ask a lot of you to be artistic, being artistic. Okay, you know, photography, it's often like shooting things, you know, here's a duck, here's an arch, here's a person. With abstract, you've got to become artistic, because in a way maybe you normally aren't. You know, how often do you take a shot of something that isn't anything? That's the challenge. So good luck, have fun, do your best. Don't forget, it can be abstract, can be a bit of a person, but just maybe shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't really be identifiable as like a clear part of a person. You see what I mean? Anyway, enough blah blah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate your comments. That's really what makes it all worthwhile as well, is the comments. I might be highlighting 2 or 3 of your shots. I'm thinking of starting my 3 favorite shots of the week again. Thanks again, Sab, says Jean. Thank you, Jean, my dear Jean. Thanks everyone, Dorothy, Kristen, for watching. If you watched the replay, I really appreciate you too. Thanks for playing. Thanks, 𝗏, who for some reason isn't watching, but maybe she's watching from a lot closer than you might think. And see you next time. Get going. We might only have 6 days for this one. And yeah, take care from hot and sweaty Paris. And see you again soon. Bye for now.